On January 20th, 1945, a desperate gamble played out on Germany's Eastern Front. Felix Steiner, a battle-hardened SS general, found himself at the center of a maelstrom. With Soviet forces poised to overrun Berlin, Steiner and his men were hastily transferred from the Baltics to bolster the crumbling defenses. His dwindling forces were grandly dubbed Army Detachment Steiner, a title belying their true state. Then came the order. Hitler demanded that Steiner launch a reckless counterattack, slicing through the massive Soviet salient and linking up with troops to the south. It was a desperate, near-suicidal mission with little chance of success. Steiner knew this. He had a stark choice to make: obey a delusional Führer's commands, dooming his men to certain death, or openly defy the man who held the fate of Germany in his hands. Faced with this impossible dilemma, Steiner made a fateful call to his commanding officer, General Heinrichi. He laid the situation bare. His forces were depleted, under-equipped, and unable to execute the attack. What happened next inside Hitler's bunker on April 22nd would change the course of Steiner's life and mark a turning point in the dying days of the Third Reich. Felix Steiner's life was a microcosm of the turbulent first half of the 20th century. Born on May 23, 1896 in Stallupönen, East Prussia, he was a child of German militarism, steeped in the rising tide of nationalism. World War I, the defining conflict of his generation, became his proving ground. He joined the Prussian army as a cadet, earning both the Iron Cross First and Second Class for acts of valor before the war's end in 1918, rising to the rank of Oberlieutenant. However, Germany's humiliating defeat and the punitive Treaty of Versailles left the country seething with resentment. The chaos of the immediate post-war years saw the rise of the Freikorps, paramilitary units battling communists and defying the perceived injustices imposed on Germany. Steiner, a veteran with nowhere else to turn, took up arms again. Leading a unit in East Prussia, he ruthlessly suppressed Polish insurgents and Bolshevik agitators, further cementing his ruthlessness and disdain for weakness. With the eventual stabilization of the Weimar Republic, Steiner returned to the regular army, now known as the Reichswehr. His talents didn't go unnoticed, and by 1933, the ambitious young officer held the rank of major. However, Adolf Hitler's rise to power and the formation of the Nazi Party offered Steiner a path steeped in ideology, one mirroring his own belief in a strong, unified, and purified Germany. He threw his lot in with the Nazis, joining the SS in 1935. Steiner's influence grew rapidly, and he was tasked with training the elite Deutschland Regiment in Munich, a core unit of the fledgling SSVT. Steiner instilled unwavering discipline and a sense of superiority that bordered on fanaticism. His innovative training methods, emphasizing rapid strikes and mobile warfare, foreshadowed the blitzkrieg tactics that would soon stun Europe. In 1938, Steiner's success was rewarded with command of a new unit, the SS Division Viking. Unlike other SS formations, Viking was multinational, comprised of German, Dutch, Norwegian, Finnish, and Scandinavian volunteers lured by Hitler's vision of a united, Aryan Europe. Steiner fostered a fierce pan-European identity, transcending national borders under the banner of the SS. When World War II erupted, Steiner proved his worth. Leading Viking during the invasions of Poland in 1939 and France in 1940, his emphasis on speed and overwhelming force devastated his opponents. But it was on the brutal Eastern Front that Steiner truly made his mark. Viking was in the vanguard of Operation Barbarossa, the 1941 invasion of the Soviet Union. Steiner's soldiers, hardened by ideology and ruthless training, were at the forefront of some of the war's most desperate fighting. Steiner's leadership, uncompromising, aggressive, and always from the front, earned him respect, fear, and tactical victories. While Steiner's aggressive tactics yielded victories, his true talent shone brightest when on the defensive. As the tides of war turned against Germany, he became known for meticulously planned withdrawals that preserved his men and exacted a heavy toll on the advancing Soviets. This fighting retreat strategy earned him grudging respect from superiors and enemies alike. One such battle stands out: the Battle of Targul Frumos in Romania in May 1944. The Soviets launched a massive offensive aiming to smash German lines. Steiner's forces were outnumbered, yet he turned the situation to his advantage. His defensive strategy was flexible, allowing the Soviets to advance initially, then striking back with devastating counterattacks at critical moments. This calculated gamble destabilized the enemy offensive, eventually turning it into a costly stalemate and a tactical victory for Germany. Steiner's battlefield record led to numerous awards. Besides the Iron Cross from World War I, he received the German Cross in Gold for his leadership during the invasion of the Soviet Union. But his greatest recognition was the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross with oak leaves and swords, an honor reserved for exceptional bravery and skilled leadership. The Battle of Berlin, the final act of the European theater, was where absurdity and desperation collided. In January 1945, Steiner and his 3rd SS Panzer Corps were hastily transferred from the collapsing Kurland pocket to bolster Germany's crumbling Eastern Front. Theoretically part of the newly created 11th SS Panzer Army, this force was largely an administrative fiction, lacking true cohesion or strength. As Soviet forces reached the Oder River, the 11th SS Panzer Army ceased to exist. Steiner's corps became a pawn, shuffled around as a reserve during the massive Soviet assault known as the Berlin Offensive. During the opening Battle of Seelow Heights, Steiner lost most of his command, with divisions diverted to General Bussy's beleaguered 9th Army. By April 21st, Zhukov's 1st Belarusian front had shattered the German lines. With a delusional disregard for reality, Hitler dubbed Steiner's ragtag remnants Army Detachment Steiner. Now, Hitler demanded that Steiner save Berlin with a northern attack, mirroring General Bussy's planned thrust from the south. This pincer movement aimed to slice through the massive Soviet salient, but Steiner's army consisted largely of battered units already engaged defensively. He was ordered to coordinate with parts of the 9th Army CI Army Corps, the 4th SS Panzer Grenadier Division Polizei, the 5th Jaeger Division, and the 25th Panzer Grenadier Division. These were located north of the Finno Canal, on the northern flank of the Soviet breakthrough. Further complicating matters, General Helmuth Weidling's Panzer Corps, east of Berlin, was also to join this desperate counteroffensive. The plan dictated a southward assault from Eberswald along the Finno Canal. Steiner's depleted forces were a mere 24 kilometers from Berlin and, on paper, could sever the Soviet salient in two. But Steiner bluntly laid out the reality to General Heinrici. The 5th Jaeger and 25th Panzer Grenadier were engaged defensively and lacked the manpower to redeploy until relieved by the 2nd Naval Division. This left only 2 understrength battalions from the 4th SS Panzer Grenadier virtually without fighting vehicles to carry out the attack. Heinrici desperately attempted to contact Hitler, but the Führer, his grip on reality slipping entirely, refused to take the call. On April 22nd, upon learning that Steiner could not attack as ordered, Hitler erupted in a now infamous rage. Accepting, however belatedly, that the war was lost, he blamed his generals for the defeat, declaring that he would remain in Berlin and die by his hand. Ironically, Steiner's few remaining mobile units were stripped away and assigned to yet another futile plan under General Rudolf Holst. Thus, Hitler stripped away the forces that might, just might, have made a difference, squandering Steiner's final combat troops in a series of hopeless efforts. The Soviet encirclement of Berlin, completed on April 25th, sealed the fate for the city and the Third Reich. Steiner's act echoed far beyond the battle. It was a small crack in the armor of blind obedience. Even within the Nazi ranks, some started to question the madness. Steiner knew his defiance was risky. He could have been executed, yet he chose not to waste his men's lives. In a way, it was a rebellion disguised as common sense. It showed that even in dark times, some people hold on to what's right. After the war, Steiner was held prisoner but released in 1948. He dodged serious charges at Nuremberg and faded away. Surprisingly, the CIA recruited him in the 1950s to help rebuild West Germany's army. The Cold War overshadowed his dark past. His skills were needed. Steiner spent his final years trying to rewrite his story. He wrote books that glorified the Waffen-SS, ignoring their war crimes. This attempt to whitewash history is a disturbing trend repeated by other former SS officers. Steiner died a free man in 1966. His life was a tangled mess, a skilled soldier with twisted beliefs, defying a monster while trying to escape his own. Like the story? Let us know. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and don't forget to turn on notifications for more history chills.